On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks offense was awful. But was it as bad as we saw in Game 1? No. But what's real from Game 1? We'll tell you. Today's Locked On Mavs.
This is Cooper Flagg, and you're listening to Locked On Mavs.
Zone 5. Explain yourself.
All these changes, I still got my dog Dwight Powell.
You are Locked On Mavs. Great, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm going to get a city like that.
And welcome. You're Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day, making the Locked On Sports Podcast Network the #1 podcast network out there. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years, right alongside me, the offensive oligarch, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
We back. Mavs fandom is back. We're back arguing. We're back. Hot
Players
takes.
Are terrible. Players are amazing.
Everybody's horrible. It's good times. It's good times to have. It was funny. I tweeted out. I was like, it's good to have basketball back on the timeline again. And this was like earlier in the evening. And
Did you feel the same at the end of the night?
And then, by the end of the night, I was like, this kind of isn't fun to be on this timeline now. But it was fun. It was fun to at least see real Mavs basketball being played for the sake of content. Like, we can actually examine what is real, what is not. We can finally silence all the commenters. Like, why don't you guys talk about something real? Why don't you guys talk about the same thing? I'm like, well, we've been talking about Cooper Flagg for 5 months. He hasn't played a Mavs game yet. Yeah. You can't. You can't talk about Cooper. I'm tired of Cooper talk. You've beaten to the ground. You just mention the guy whose name starts with an L, and people lose their mind.
Well, I have some bad news for you. Today's show, we're going to talk about Cooper Flagg's true role because a teammate of his said that he's playing out of position right now. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about how long the offense will take to get ready. But we want to focus today on what's real from the Mavs opening night loss, because it was awful. Like, it was literally awful. You don't know how awful it was? I went to Cleaning the Glass today, the stat site, and they have this stat called win prediction. And it's like, within 82 games, how many wins are you expected to have if your stats were like this for the whole season? If the Mavs stats from Game 1, their efficiency both on offense and on defense, stayed the exact same as they did in Game 1, they would win 1.5 games for the entire season. 1.5 and 80.5. That's what their record would be at the end of the season. That's how bad it was for the Dallas Mavericks. Absolutely brutal. But I think there's a bunch of things in this game that you can look at and say, these things are not real. One of the players on the other team is not from this planet. You also had multiple players on the Mavericks in foul trouble, with PJ Washington with the early fouls, with Dereck Lively with fouls, with Anthony Davis with fouls. That threw off. Jason Kidd even mentioned the foul trouble threw off all the rotations. So you legitimately had the Mavs start no point guards with Cooper Flagg, Klay, PJ, AD, and Lively. And then the next shift, basically at the 6.5 minute mark in the first quarter, you had D'Angelo Russell and Ryan Nembhard, the two-way guy, checking in. There's things that just did not seem real in that game, because it got all thrown off from the very beginning. Well, and there's a bunch of things. The Mavericks. But then today, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what is real. So, Isaac, what's something that was real from that opening night struggle the Mavs had? Yeah,
the offense looking like it's just walking through mud. Yeah. I mean, I told you before you hit record, I was like, I really don't want to hop on here and do the pat on our backs type thing. But it's like, we're worried about this offense, and joked at times. It's like, hey, they're going to look like Orlando, to where, I used to get so mad at watching Orlando games because I like Paolo a lot. So I'd watch them on League Pass, and I was like, dang, y'all are really so good defensively, but man, your offense is just horrific. Really? And it's like last year I was getting more frustrated because I'm like, y'all are like a couple years into this and you still haven't figured out offense. Well, come on, Mosley.
Do you know the Magic stat, right? We keep talking about this in the squad show. The Orlando Magic had not been higher than 20th in offensive rating since Dwight Howard played on the team. Still have not. This year could be it. They scored 125 points in their first game. Rashard Lewis was at the game last night. He's assistant for the Spurs.
Shout out to Hidu, who Cooper doesn't even know who it is.
Oh yeah, Turkaloo.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But no, I think that's one of my biggest things is like it took everything aside me not to like tweet out and was like, hey, shocker, who would have seen that our offense would struggle? And the thing with the Orlando comp is at least Orlando was really good at defense and Dallas wasn't really good at defense in game one. And been vocal about not a fan of Cooper or starting Cooper at point guard. We were in a text group with some other media people, and somebody made a joke earlier in the day. It's like, "Hey, are you really upset about starting Cooper at point?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I'm just not a fan of this." And I felt that a lot, and it's less about, hey, the offense. What I don't want to see people do is, hey, the Mavs offense struggled. This was their offensive rating, and Cooper was the point guard. It's less about Cooper was the point guard and more about they just didn't have a point guard on the floor. Like,
no, that was my point like 2 days ago when I was stuck in the attic, because I said you can't say point Flagg because you could just say point Klay, point Anthony Davis, point PJ Washington. Yeah. It was point guard by committee, and they didn't even really run the stuff that they talked about. Like Anthony Davis, I thought had the quote of the night at the end. He said, very specific we're playing a lot of isolation basketball. We're not going to win games like that. We got guys that are capable of doing it, but we don't want to play like that. We got to be able to move the basketball from side to side to get good looks. They did not do that. They played a lot of isolation basketball. And I'm sorry, Anthony Davis, you don't have a lot of guys that can do that on your roster. You can do that at times. Naji can do it at times. A bunch of guys can do it on mismatches, but they just did not take. Flagg will be able to do it at times, like isolate and score. D'Angelo Russell will probably, but like not at a high level, or not at the elite level, or not at the level that will face a Wembanyama led defense. It's just,
yeah. You know how an opposing team feels about you whenever Mitch Johnson is the mic'd up segment there, and he's like, hey, keep him in the half court.
Oh, that was brutal.
And that just tells you that's like they know that you can't execute in the offense. They know you don't have a guy that can get the stuff going and all of that. And Dallas's MO, they want to play faster. They want to play faster. You got all these athletes out on the floor. And I've said it before. I think the not starting a point guard is more about having PJ on the floor to be the point of attack defender than it is, hey, we want to run Cooper at point guard, because you made the point yesterday. It's not like they were running Cooper at point guard for all the stuff.
And it's like a bunch of pick and rolls.
Yeah, it's not like, Luka comes over from Europe, but Luka was used to running a lot of the stuff. And it's not like, hey, we're going to force running everything through a guy like a Luka or a Giannis when Giannis was younger. It really wasn't even that. So I think it's more about having PJ in there, but to the detriment of the offense of what it was tough. It was tough to watch a lot of that. They tried different, Anthony Davis, he tried different to just do his thing on offense, the long twos, the drives into people. And even, you look at a guy like Klay, and was I in love with the shot decisions that Klay was having? No. But then another side of me was like, well, crap, what else is he supposed to do? Like, he's a guy that needs to be set up, and he's a shooter. And if Klay's not taking shots, then it's kind of like, why is he in there? And so Klay, there was a point where I'm like, I kind of don't blame Klay for taking some of the shots, because no one else is creating anything. Nothing else is working on offense. I said in the second quarter, I shot a text to a group of us where I'm like, are we even going to hit 95 points? And they didn't. Like, they hit 92 points. And I don't know what the shot quality stats are for this game. I should have looked them up before this, but they have to suck. Like, this is one of the worst shot quality Mavs games that I've seen in a long time.
Absolutely awful. And so that offense is real. I think
that part's real. Yes.
I don't think it's as bad as it was in this game. Obviously, I don't think they'll be the worst offense since, I don't know, probably like the mid 80s, like 70s.
No, but I also think you can't say, I've seen a lot about, like, Wemby is unreal. Wemby is the closest thing for me last night watching. I'm like, this is what it was like watching Wilt Chamberlain in the 60s, probably. Like,
yeah.
where it was just,
he was on it. He was hitting everything too.
Pure dominance. and obviously he was taking the step back threes and stuff too. But you can't look at this game from a Mavs angle and say, well, that was just because Wemby was out there. Like he's just out of this world, and that's just because Wemby.
He did break them though.
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, it was the Wemby show, but you can't look at that's almost like writing off the excuse of like you don't have to work on anything because you just played a monster from Mars. Yeah. And it's like, well, it's not all that. A good portion of it, yes.
He's the one that took him out of it. Like they had you go in with your game plan, and they were like, all right, we've got to scrap that because this guy is just destroying everything that we're trying to do. That's what I felt like.
I saw their effort get beat multiple times, and by players that's not Wemby. I saw their offense at times, even when Wemby was out of the game, where I'm like, what are we doing right now on offense? Yeah. So Wemby had a huge reason behind it. I just don't think they can hide behind the Wemby, or stand underneath that and say, hey, this was all, we just played Wemby and it's Wemby. We're going to be fine. Keep everything as is.
No, I mean, it's got to be way better, and they've got to at least do the offense. I don't feel like they did the offense. We talked a lot all offseason about this new offense they were going to have to run, and they didn't run it. They didn't run really any offense last night, it felt like. Coming up, what else is real about Cooper Flagg's role? What is his role? What should his role be? Let's talk about that in more. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. That's awesome. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. We're also brought to you by DoorDash. If you're somebody that's like, I'm watching all these NBA games, I'm sitting down, start to finish, getting through all of them, DoorDash has the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching the highlights, your fantasy team, or your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game even better, especially if you need to eat your feelings away watching this Mavs offense. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 in a game, DoorDash drops 50% of your order with DoorDash the next day. Then you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. So if somebody scores 50 in a game, they drop 50% of your order with Dash Pass. That's pretty awesome. So get Dash Pass. Next time somebody goes off for 50, use the promo code NBA50, NBA50, the next day to get 50% off your DoorDash order with Dash Pass. Drop your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 after the 50-point game with the promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 and older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of what we call the Raccoon Squad, our listeners listening every day. Appreciate you for checking out the show and listening. Shout out to everybody that asked me where Isaac was yesterday, and I had to tell him that he was doing like a ropes course or like trust falls, or he had a campfire. And
yeah, tough scheduling thing for the church job, the full-time job.
You made him go on a retreat yesterday.
Was I at a retreat, a staff retreat, watching the game while everyone else was doing ropes courses and free falls, trust falls? Maybe.
Did you make a s'more?
No, we didn't even have s'mores.
Dang, you just missing the boat on that one.
They could have, but I was watching this Mavs offense, wishing I had a s'more.
Yeah, would have been better. Well, I did not want some more of this Mavs offense, and I did not want some more of Cooper Flagg playing this role, because I just did not think there was any rhyme or reason to what he was doing out there, and I thought that took him out of what he was supposed to do. If you're going to play him at point guard, at least try and stretch him and do stuff that's like developing him. You know, like run some pick and rolls with him, have him bring the ball up, have him like. It just didn't seem like any of those things were even happening for him. He had a really good spurt in the third quarter where he was getting some good shots off. Wemby happened to not be on the floor for 3 out of the 4 of them, which I think is notable. But he did have a little run there. He did get a double-double. And also, I'd like to remind everybody that Luka Doncic scored 10 points in his opener as well. Like, it's not everybody comes out and does VJ Edgecombe and scores 34 in their opener, right? And sometimes guys that do score 34 in their opener don't score that ever again. Like, we've seen that too, where like Tyreek Evans averaged 25 and 5. We never heard from him again after his rookie season. So seasons are long, careers are long, and all that. But what do you think is real about Cooper Flagg's role from game one?
Yeah, I thought it was just, I mean, I go back to that comment that Kidd made in the beginning, or I think it was the first presser after they drafted him, and it was before Summer League, and he was like, yeah, we want to put the ball in his hands, make him feel uncomfortable. That was cute heading into Vegas. It's not cute now. And
well, they did it in Vegas.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was like, okay, we're going to like play around with it, in Vegas, Summer League doesn't matter. And yeah, it's just not like now we're in the regular season, like now crap matters. And I think it's, Max Christie said it at practice. You said it earlier about how Max said that, he's playing out of position, or like, say the exact quote again.
Max Christie said he's not playing his true position. He said, I don't think that's his true position.
There you go.
Being point guard, which I agree with. I think we all agree with. I think everyone agrees with that.
Yeah, and you go back to, I go back to the question I asked him after the first preseason game about I was like, man, now you're playing with two bigs. Like, you've never played, he's typically been the 4 or even the 5 and stuff when you're a guy that big. And he was talking about how that's a different thing for him, playing with 2 other bigs. So not only is it playing with 2 other bigs, but now it's like, hey, we want you to be a point guard. And I just think it's not something, not to go back to Luka, but it's like Luka was used to all of that when you brought him in, of like running the offense. And we've seen, it's like you've seen the Eurobasket, you've seen different stuff. This is not Cooper's like thing. And I think they felt like they probably still, I don't think that they're going to make a change right now. I think Kid's probably going to ride it for a little bit, but they probably just feel like, hey, he can make do. And because we want the size and we want PJ out there defensively, he can make do we can make do with the playmaking side and getting the ball up the floor. But even like you think about that time in the second half, they asked PJ to bring the ball up the floor, and then he gets ripped by Castle or whoever it was. And
Flagg got ripped by him twice too.
Yeah, and so it's like, and it's not just about, hey, these guys, Isaac, you don't think these guys can bring up the floor? Yeah, I think they can bring it up the floor. It's the flow and stuff. You want to run a flow offense, you want to run this Triano offense, then you got to have get some of these guys out there that can run that type of offense. And it's not just about the big and the DHOs and all the stuff. Like, you got to have a guy that can set some of the stuff up, run some of the offense. And that's where for Cooper, I just think you're asking a lot from him. You go back to some of those plays, that stretch that you talk about in the second half, to where he was, he's ISOing out. They were down, a good little chunk then. But still, it's like you're getting him the ball in the wing and say, go work, instead of like forcing him into that. So, yeah, I hope I don't feel any different than what I did in the offseason and how I feel now. Like, can we get a guard out there? At this point, I don't want to watch 3 weeks of no point guard out there running the show. And at this point, I don't care who it is. Brandon Williams, Nembhard, D'Lo, don't care. Throw one of them out there. And just say like, hey, let's get Cooper the ball, like playing off the ball a little bit more.
You know what's funny about all this? As I was thinking about this game today, you remember 2 years ago, the Mavs always play the Spurs in their opening game, apparently. 2 years ago, Mavs played the Spurs in the opening game. It was Wembanyama's rookie season. Do you know who started on that team? Victor Wembanyama, Zach Collins at center, which very familiar. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and Jeremy Sohan started at point guard. Do you remember when they did this and they ran Sohan at point guard, and everyone's like, are they tanking on purpose playing Sohan at point guard? It makes no sense. This offense, like, you have this Wembanyama, you have this guy, this generational talent. You're not using him right. Wembanyama had like 15 points in that game, and 3 of them were on threes that he hit, which a 7'5" guy hitting threes is like, okay, he can take those whenever he wants. But they did this, and it didn't make any sense. And then what happened the very next year? They went and got Chris Paul, and he came in and he ran the offense, like, and it ended up working. And they ended up like being way better until Victor Wembanyama went out with the injury.
Nembhard might be there, Chris Paul.
I mean, but he might have to be, or D'Angelo Russell. Like, bring in D'Angelo Russell to run some of this. Like, that's why you signed him. That's why you brought him in and talked about how good he was going to be and how good he was going to be for this team all offseason. This is why
I don't always tell you guys the truth.
This is why I don't believe Jason Kidd, because he gasses up all these players and talks about how they're this, and then he doesn't use them in some of these games. And you're like, all right, well, then I don't know what to believe from you. But we've seen this before.
I didn't mind D'Lo's shots.
We've seen this before from a team in the Spurs, and I think the Mavs are kind of on this same path where you're like, you're being a little too cute about it. Some of this stuff has worked because it works. Guards, wings, bigs, like that. There's still those three positions, right? And they just didn't have any. They legit had 0 guards playing in that starting line.
And I know D'Lo missed a ton of like bunnies and different stuff. I'm not
5.
I didn't mind. I didn't think he was forcing a ton. He just missed some of these shots he probably should make. And the thing with the Cooper role is this: if you're going, because I see different responses of, well, this isn't maximizing Cooper for his, growth and long-term stuff. And I also see like, well, this isn't win. Like, this isn't the best thing to like win now. And it's like,
not winning or developing.
But I think that's the frustrating part about it. After one game, I get it, is it's not even going after either one of them. Like, it's not like, hey, we want him to be young Giannis and we're going to force him being point guard to run the offense through him and all this stuff. And it comes at the sacrifice of wins. And you're like, well, crap, why did we pay this older roster to win now? But we're not going for it. We're just like prioritizing like Cooper's development. And it's also not the other way either of like, hey, like this is the best way. We're sacrificing Cooper development because this is the best thing for us to win, and we're going to win a ton of I don't think that they're going to win a ton with that type of lineup of no guard out there. So it's like you're not going after either one of them, and I think that's the frustrating part. You're like trying to ride down the middle, and I don't think it's helping his development. I also don't think it's going to lead to a ton of wins either. So it's one game. We've talked about not overreacting. But it would be different if it's not something we've talked about over the summer. This isn't after one game, and then we're like, whoa, look at this issue. Overreact. This was 2 months ago having the same conversation and the same worry. So it's not an overreaction to game one. It's a reaction to a worry that we had back when they drafted him.
It was a confirmation of the worry, right? The we've had. Coming up, what else is real? Are the Mavs getting Daniel Gafford back for this next game? How does that change things? There's a couple of good things, too. I thought PJ, Max Christie, a couple of good moments. We'll talk about those coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. The Mavs can't make any excuses right now. We've heard it all before. It's just stress. I'm tired. We have no shooters. It happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, a little extra ball movement. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Visit Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use that promo code. It's LockedOnNBA. It's all one word, LockedOnNBA, so they know that we sent you. Again, Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of things to get in the action. NFL season is here. NBA season has launched. And I'm excited about the NBA season on FanDuel. You can go check out all kinds of different things. Have some fun with it. You look at, let's see, this next Mavs game. Mavs against the Wizards. The Mavs, here we go. 10.5-point favorite against the Wizards. Minus 560 for the money line. So if you think the Mavs are going to win, and you have to put down $560 to win 100 on the Mavs to win this. So they think the Mavs are going to win 100%. So check that out. See what you can do on all kinds of other things with FanDuel. It's not just NBA. It has NFL, college football, the World Series, all kinds of things like that. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, get $300 in bonus bets. If you win, pick a bet, put down $5, and if you win, you get that in bonus bets to use across the app. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com right now to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home! Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is, huh? Anybody? Kayla, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on.
All right, Isaac, it is game day. Daniel Gafford listed as questionable by Jason Kidd, and I think on the injury report he'll be listed as questionable, so I think that is notable. If Daniel Gafford plays for the Mavericks in this game, what changes for the Mavericks from what we saw in game one?
Dwight doesn't play.
Dwight Powell played 8 minutes in this game.
No, and this is more of a big thing of if we go back to answering the question, like what's real and what's not. One of the things I don't think is real from this game is the front court being as of a disaster as what it was.
Well, you got 10 minutes from Lively, 32 minutes from Anthony Davis, but he had the 4 fouls. He had PJ Washington only played like 2 minutes in that first quarter. So yeah, like it was stretched out.
Yeah, I think overall, like watching this game, and this is where the Wemby effect does play in because it's the same position. There were times that watching the game, I think I even fell into of like, crap, like we're supposed to be one of the biggest teams in the league in the front court, and Anthony Davis was looking like Brandon Bass against him, and Lively was
not the Brandon Bass stray,
and. Lively was it was tough. I mean, he was trying, but it's just like, Wemby was just like, hey, I'm a whole different level than you. And then a lot of people, it's not just like a Lively thing, but he just got Lively in foul trouble. Like it's so hard to guard a guy like that as another big. And so I'm not the rotation was thrown off. Even some of the AD stuff, even AD defensively, it looks like, oh man, like, is he slower against Wemby and all this stuff? I think that will course correct, and I'm not worried about the front court rotation. I think that is not true of how it looked in game 1. But I am very curious about the Gafford minutes, though, because if Lively doesn't get in foul trouble, then you're going to want him out there. So,
this has been my whole thing, and I'm concerned that the offense didn't look much better when Anthony Davis was playing the 5, because I kept saying the offense is gonna need some juice, and you have to put Anthony Davis at the 5 to stretch the floor, and then they did that, and then it didn't get any juice at all when they did that either, and then Kidd was just throwing out any lineup he could. He threw out Hardy and Dwight Powell at one point at the same time, and I was like, what? And that was like in the third quarter, and I was like, what is that? He's just throwing anything against
Brandon Williams was in that lineup.
Yeah, to try and see if anything stuck. He was just like, all right, let me just throw out multiple guys.
All 14 players in uniform suited up again, by the way.
You think it was the same bit as like 3 years ago when he like played every single player?
I thought about that whenever he put Nembhard and D'Lo in together.
Yeah.
And I was like, it crossed my mind. And it was kind of on track, but then at the very end, yeah, it was Moose and Caleb. That was the last two.
PJ Washington, I thought, had a good game. 17 points, 5 boards, hit 2 threes, hit a couple of like jumpers where you're just like, oh, this is a little different. Obviously, we've seen the drive and bump and finish and transition thing all through preseason, and we kept saying how much stronger he looked. He did that again in this game. He was also the player after the game that maybe had the second best quote after the game, and it was like, they asked, what did you do defensively that didn't work? And he said, well, nothing we did tonight. We were terrible all over the court tonight. Like, we didn't do anything good tonight. So, what did you see from PJ Washington though that you thought you take as a positive?
Yeah, I didn't feel that it was as clunky with him. It felt like, I mean, he obviously started, so he was guarding Castle a lot defensively, which I think once again is the reason why he's probably starting. I'd been curious to see what would have happened if Fox Fox was in there, and him guarding Fox and what that looks like. But I love PJ. I love him on the floor. I thought offensively he was aggressive, took some good shots. I thought it was just him and Max that really is my takeaways from the game. I thought Max Christie played pretty well. I liked a lot of Max's minutes. His shots looked good. I think them two are like the main takeaways, but I think it's important to mention those because I think it's easier probably to lean into this game and be like, hey, this whole game sucked. I don't want to ever think about it again. And we want it did, but I'm just like, we also said in the preseason it would be really, or in the offseason, man, it'd be really nice if Max like took a step forward and was aggressive and hitting his outside shot and on all that. And I thought he looked pretty good in his first game.
The Mavs made 9 threes. He hit 3 of them. That's kind of big.
Let's go.
They need somebody.
He only missed one. Yeah.
They need somebody to take those open threes and to go to those spots and to try to be physical, try to be a point of attack defender. Thought he definitely did that. And yeah, I liked what we saw in his minutes for sure.
And I know I didn't answer this fully earlier, or we didn't really talk about Cooper's like first half. To circle back to Cooper's first half, it was first half of a real NBA game. I mean, he had the NBA debut patch on his jersey. That was big.
You think that made him nervous? You think the patch?
Probably. You can kind of like see
added
it.
some action.
Peripherals, like him and
Oh, it's
Harper.
like how you can see your nose and your peripheral. Like,
Yeah, he's like,
you can just see the patch.
right here.
Just through.
But
Was it
I'm
metallic?
not-
Do you think that there was like a shining off of it that messed him up? Like in some.
I really wanted that lob to go down so bad.
The very first one slightly had a take where he was like, "Do you think that if that lob goes down, the entire game is different?" Like the butterfly effect of like he gets the confidence.
This sounds like a
after
take you would have, though. These 5 games are going to define the season. Right here.
This one dunk changed the course of Dallas Mavericks the entire
Dude,
season.
imagine if this Mavs season goes bad in this first few months. Lean in on that take. Slightly needs to lean in and be like, if he made that dunk,
If he made that dunk to start the season,
this season would have been
the whole
different.
season goes different. Anthony
but
Davis
no,
wins MVP.
Honestly, though, like you saw it in action. Like they get the steal, AD gets, Cooper past AD, and then it's like setting up, and he goes up for the one hand. I was like, no! And he missed it, and I was like, no, if that would have went down, that would have been unbelievable. But I don't blame him for anything in the first half. It's just first half a real game. He was playing out of position, and I don't. Something I really did like on offense though, and I was like, ballsy move. He got the switch on Wemby, and he just ISO'd out. He like waved him off and was like, "Let me have it." And he did a pull up jump shot, and he missed the jump shot, but it was
Got
like
it over him though.
Yeah, not a lot of people probably even in their first game that would wave off everybody and say, "Let me ISO out Wemby from the perimeter." So. Yeah, I thought that he made different rookie mistakes and some passing stuff, decision stuff, whatever. But I'm not worried about Coop at all. I think if you're having any firm take about Coop after game 1, then come on, go watch more basketball.
Remember, he's a competitive maniac, and remember, he is one that learns. Chuck Cooperstein, before the game, they always do that thing where Chris Arnold, Chris Arnold always says, "You got time to get something to eat."
Yeah.
And he also interviews somebody. He interviewed Chuck Cooperstein. He was like, "The thing about Cooper Flagg is that he's a supercomputer. You tell him something once and he learns it, and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what he is." And they've seen it all training camp where the vets tell him something once and he learns it, and they don't have to tell it to him again. And so I think he'll learn from all of this in this game, move forward. You hope Jason Kidd learns from this one and tries some different things, not too different from like what the game plan was initially, because I felt like in game 1 he tried everything different and just threw everything to the wall. But we'll see what happens. It's a Wizards too. And like,
one more thing on that game. You do have the Wizards coming up. And I just want to say this hey, like it's still early in the season. I get it's the Wizards, and I get that, hey, like they're supposed to suck this year and they just lost to Milwaukee. I mean, Giannis put up an ungodly game against them and stuff. But they do still have some pros on their team, some vets with Middleton and McCollum and stuff, and some hungry young guys. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going into this game expecting the Mavs to win by 25. So, but I do think it's like a telling test, though, if you have some of the same issues against a Wizards team without a Wemby and without some of these guys like a Castle and Vassell that are really good perimeter defenders, that, hopefully the offense doesn't look as tough on Friday night.
They put up 42 threes, and I think they're going to put up 50 against this Mavs team. Because remember the 3-point thing. The Spurs are not a team that's going to take a lot of threes. This team, I think will. That's definitely something to watch too.
Keyshawn George, I like him a lot.
Yeah, he started 21 points. Massive. They started Bub Carrington and Alex Sarr. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with that game. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll have more. Check the QR code, links in the description to find the show and all kinds of platforms. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom. That one dunk.